All right, and we are live. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Global Citizens. My name is Calvin. I'm the show's host and also its creator. So my guest for today is somebody who is very, very amazing. He has once encountered a setback, but within 1 year he revived it back, and in fact he is now retired at the age of 35 years old. How many of you would love to do that? Yeah. So Juergen is actually my guest is of course Mr. Juergen Pallien here. He is an international speaker, author, entrepreneur who has been featured in multiple media productions and in fact has worked with multiple celebrities such as Mark Wahlberg, Kirk Douglas, who I always wonder if he's the consultant for the movie Wall Street, but that's maybe I'll ask you that later. And recent on upcoming project with Trey Sean, yeah, who's a young investor. Am I right? On all of your accomplishment, Juergen, or I'm missing out some. I apologize for that.
Oh, thank you very much for that very kind introduction.
You're most welcome. Did I do enough justice to it, or am I missing out? I apologize for that in case I did.
Well, yeah, it's lovely to be here and to talk to you, and looking forward to answer the questions that you might have, also the Michael Douglas or Wall Street questions. So I'm looking forward to an amazing time.
Thank you. Okay, so for those of you who just tuned in to this channel for the very first time, Global Citizens is a show whereby I invited individuals with multicultural background, such as a third culture kid like myself, those who grow up outside of our parents' birth country and our passport, cross-culture kids, digital nomads, expatriates, and those where the reason being is that when you are somebody who live in a country, you need to adapt to a certain mindset. You need to follow your host country's mindset and their point of view, their way of thinking and it forms a part of you. Whereas if you are somebody who is a frequent traveler, yes, you do get exposed to new kind of environment. However, it is more towards just exposure. You learn something new, but it doesn't become a part of you. All right, Juergen. So my first question to you is this. Okay. You are actually currently living in Cyprus, right? You are from Germany originally. You lived in the United Kingdom before that. All right. So with these intercultural backgrounds, yeah, maybe you can explain why did you decide to go for places that's completely different from your birth country, Germany? Along with that is that what have you learned about yourselves and what measures have you done to stick to your roots?
Okay, so to answer the first question, why did I move from Germany? One of the main reasons why I went from Germany to the UK is that my wife actually is British, so she lived there, and I already retired at that point, so I was traveling all around the world, and I basically had like a mailbox in Germany, and I was like all over the place. So for me, it didn't really matter where I live, because I can trade from everywhere in the world if I have some internet access. So the first reason was my wife. So we moved together in the United Kingdom, at a city in Brighton. It's like 1.5 hours from London, and it's at the seaside, so it's absolutely stunning and beautiful. And then we decided, after we lived there together for a year, that we might go to another place, because the downside of England is that the weather is quite ugly in the winter, so it's cold, rainy, foggy, and you have like the gray sky. And that's when we went to several places. So we were deciding about whether to go to Los Angeles or Nice, which was a place we liked very much. We wanted to have a lot of sunshine, and eventually we came to Cyprus, and we absolutely fell in love with it. So we went here on the 1st of January, and we moved here in March. So we just came back. I had like a speaking engagement, so I was traveling a little bit, and then we packed everything, moved it to Cyprus, and now enjoy the beautiful sunshine, great food, and absolutely lovely people. So we really love it here. So the first reason was because of love. That's when I went to the UK. And the next reason was, well, as nice as it is to be at the beach, but for the both of us, we love to be at the beach when the sun shines. And over here we have 340 days of sunshine. So it's like one of the best things for us. That's why we came here and stayed here.
All right. So with being exposed to these multiple areas outside of Germany, what do you learn more about yourself? Because one of the most interesting things that I've heard other people who experience such lifestyles as yours is that they just realize is that, wow, okay, so everything that I've known is completely different when I'm in a new country, for one. And two, I realized that this custom is actually something that benefits me more, is something that I love more. So what have you learned a little bit more about yourself too? And what have you done to ensure that you remember your roots in Germany?
Yeah, I think the first thing is what I learned about myself is that you got to be flexible. So you need to be able to adapt. And at one point, you just start to embrace change and to embrace these differences and not see them as a downside, but rather look at them and have a look at what can I learn from it. And I think being from Germany, we are very, we have certain features that are not too compatible with the rest of the world, apart from Austria and the German-speaking part of Switzerland. So for some reason, we love to be punctual, we are very orderly, everything has its own place. We are very thorough, and for some reason, when we say something, this is what we are going to do. Yes. The very first thing that you learn when you go abroad, someone tells you something and you realize they told you, but obviously it's not what we are going to do. So you gotta be flexible and adapt to it. And once you start to embrace it and see things differently, everything is fine. It's always a choice. For example, if you have an appointment with someone, or if you meet some friends and you say, okay, we meet at, let's say, 2. In Germany, like 5 to 2, you would already start worrying about the other person if something happened. And over here in Cyprus, like, yeah, if they show up at 2:30 or 3, they're always on time. So it's completely different. And you wouldn't, if you have an appointment for 2, apart from if it's really in a business scenario, you wouldn't expect them to show up at 2 anyway. So you probably just might arrive at 2:30. And if you want to meet at 2:30, you tell them let's meet at 2. So they are more on a German time. And you have lots of these differences. And you can learn a lot from it. For example, in the UK, one of the things that I really love about them is they are very polite. So they, even if nothing really happened, they would say that they're sorry or excuse themselves. They are very patient. While in Germany, you want to have things done, and you need to have them done right now in that specific order. And you just learn to be more patient. Or here in Cyprus, you learn to be more relaxed. Pretty much everything happens outside in the sunshine. And if it rains, they don't like to work a lot. It doesn't rain too often over here. But in wintertime, when it rains, there are just things not getting done, and that's okay. And it's just being different, being flexible, being able to adapt. And you can have the best out of both worlds. So you, in your job, if you do something, especially in trading, you want to do it thoroughly, you want to stick to some rules, not a lot of rules, but some basic things. And then you can relax the rest of the day, whether the sun is shining or you have one of these 20 rainy days. It doesn't really matter because life goes on. You simply enjoy it, rather than being stuck in what you want to do and want to achieve. I would say when you go abroad to another country, see it as a chance to grow and to embrace the differences, because you will always find some things you don't like, you will find some things that you like. But if you stick more with the things you like and just ignore the ones you don't like, you will be quickly at home wherever you are in the world. That's my experience from living in these different countries.
I got a feeling you will mention something with regards to that because I've actually conducted a little bit of research because some of my past guests were actually from Germany. So they do mention is that in Germany, precision and accuracy is something that is of utmost priority to a German. Like for example, I think I've read somewhere that like a German would ensure that they have an insurance that practically cover every single thing, right to an even having a television. So I think I can also relate to a certain extent to that. I lived in Singapore for 15 years, which has a very productive. It's a country that is very on constantly on the go. And when you are back in Indonesia, the pace is so slow that sometimes you want to rip up your hair. Is that in case anyone of you wondering why my hair changed? It's not because I rip up my hair. I cut my hair. So yeah, I think I can relate to a lot what you said earlier.
It's a lovely country. My wife and I, we love being in Bali for 2 weeks. But the difference is when you travel, you always see the great sides of the country. Let's say when we go to Bali on holiday for 2 weeks or something, it's absolutely amazing. And one of the reasons is because you don't have to go to work, you are not stuck in traffic and all these kind of things. So when you travel, you see all the beautiful things, and when you actually start living somewhere, then you start to see the downsides as well. What I would recommend is, first of all, talk to other people that are already living there and talk about their experiences. Because if you just go somewhere and you're like, oh, I'd love to live there because it's so amazing, there's always another side that you will experience when you're not on holiday.
All right. Okay. Have you ever handled reverse cultural shock? Maybe when you are back in German for your, or maybe you just happen to meet somebody who is an old friend of yours. Do you ever encounter that reverse cultural shock, and how do you handle it?
No, for me, I think I'm still very, very German in terms of my thinking and the roots. So I don't have a real cultural shock when I go back in Germany. You see the differences, and it's the biggest issue or the biggest cultural shock that I had was that I realized when I went back to Germany after traveling so much for a few years, is that I came back and it didn't feel like home. You know, when you go to a country where you have not been before, you will see that the street signs are slightly different, or the lines are slightly different. Nature and everything looks very different. And I realized that when I came back in Germany, you have that feeling you're in a foreign country. You know what I mean? Like when you travel, you go somewhere, some things are different. It's not that you could say, oh, they all live in houses and they all have some kind of tree whatsoever, but it just feels foreign. And then I realized that when I came back to Germany, Germany felt foreign to me, while when I was landing back in London, I kind of felt at home. So that's the biggest difference that I had. I never had a real cultural shock where I came back and I'm like, oh my God, it's so different from what I expected or from what I used now. But that's maybe just me being very German still, despite living abroad. So, that was all a cultural shock. Yeah. But it feels different now. So, like every time I come back home to Germany, it doesn't really feel like home. And when I talk about different kind, like when I talk to someone and they ask me where are you from, my answer will always be from Cyprus, and then they look at me.
You're not from Cyprus.
Yeah, especially if you are in Cyprus and someone asks you, because you can see the differences. And then obviously I don't speak Greek, not very well, apart from a few words. And they ask you, so where are you from? And my answer is from Cyprus. And they look at you like, no, you're not from Cyprus. I'm like, well, yes, so it would be what I consider my home.
If I recall correctly, the northern part of Cyprus is more towards the Greek side. The southern is the Turkish, if I recall correctly.
The north is Turkish and the south part is Greek. Yeah.
Oh, my apologies. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Wow. That is going to be really confusing, man. Okay. So in a sense, if I can categorize your expat experience is UK, and because of Cyprus, it's Turkey, and at the same time as a Greek, yeah. So have you ever encountered a unique incident or a unique learning opportunity because of a cultural differences?
Yes and no. Like, first of all, if you have a look at the Cypriots, the Greek Cypriots and the Turkish Cypriots are both very, very friendly, very similar. Obviously, the main difference is both in religion and language. So in the north, they speak Turkish, in the south, they speak Greek. In the north, they are Muslim, in the south, they are Orthodox Christians. So there are some differences, and it feels a bit more like being in Turkey when you go to the northern side. You will pay in Turkish lira, you will eat kind of different foods, although the difference are just sometimes in the naming. I might not say that to Greek and Turkish Cypriots, but the food is it's both great, it's very similar. Sometimes it's named differently. They both have great culture, great nature. The difference is pretty much in money, and that you will meet a lot of Turkish people in the northern part and more Greek people in the southern part. You have that kind of border, which not really is a border, but more two police stations that will check your passport. You don't get a stamp or anything, and you can travel back and forth if you want to without any issues. We have people from the north working in the south and vice versa who are going through that, let's say, border every day. But the differences are not that big that you would say, oh, it feels like a completely different country.
All right. Okay. Earlier you mentioned on money, yeah. So this is now I want to focus a little bit more on your career, your company, 24-hour profits, and your techniques and teachings in trading. So it was okay. So I believe it was covered on PR Reach, if I recall correctly. It's one of the media that covers you. So your experience on how your entrepreneurship journey started was because of some issue in your childhood that involves money. So yeah, that was really unfortunate, and it became a fuel for you to actually start pursuing your career in entrepreneurship. Yeah.
So when I was growing up, my parents were quite poor. Like, they became parents very, very young. So my mom didn't finish her apprenticeship. My dad was just finishing his apprenticeship. So money always was an issue. And my parents dealt with it in a way where they kind of argued about money a lot. And as a child, when you are there and your parents are arguing, if they finish arguing with each other, they will be mad at the only person that is around, which was me. So I absolutely hated it. And they were yelling at each other or yelling at me because of money. So when I grew up very little, I always felt like, money must be such a bad thing. And obviously you need it. So I decided at a very young age that I want to have just a lot of money so I don't have to argue with anyone. And when I was looking around in the little village where I grew up, who actually are the people that have money? And I found two types of people. One would be like the local business owners, so entrepreneurs that had, like, they had some bakeries, some butchers, printers, and a sawmill. So these were the people with nice cars that obviously had some money, and living in these big houses. And then we had a new build part in the village where someone was living who was a former professional football player, so soccer for the Americans that are listening. He was playing in the German Bundesliga, and he earned a few millions, obviously, and he was having like that big mansion and new Mercedes cars all the time. So you just saw that he had a new car because the color or something changed. So he was obviously very, very rich, and I was asking these people, okay, what does he do to be that rich, or to have a lot of money? Because I was interested, I want to do the same thing. Obviously, I'm not very well playing football, And they said, well, he now lets his money work for him. So he invested in different things. And I was intrigued by the idea that rather than you working to earn money, which was what my parents obviously did, but you can take your money and your money works for you. And like in my childhood understanding, it's like, like having these coins that are doing something, so you get more coins or more paper money, and then you don't have to work. So I went back home after I learned about it, very excited, telling my dad, hey, why don't you take your money and let your money work for it so you have more time to play with me? He wasn't too much of a fan of that.
He wasn't too happy about that. I can relate to that. I have the same issue with my dad.
It took me, and later on, when I started my own career, my childhood mantra was always, if you have to choose, take both, because I wanted to be on the secure side, that I absolutely make money, and if I do both, being an entrepreneur and an investor, my chances are extremely big that it will work out. So I started to trade when I was 16. And ever kept doing that, and then when I became old enough, I started my first company, which was an IT company, and grew that quite big in the beginning. And then I faced a situation where I had to pay out a lot of money for taxes in advance for earnings just to come. So in the beginning, as an entrepreneur journey, you're kind of losing out in the first years when you start a new business. That's like the typical scenario. And then you start to go in the profit zone, and then you go all the way up and make a lot of money once the business is established. You get more and more customers and so on. And at that turning point when we were making our money back, I got the bill for taxes to pay in advance for revenues and earnings that I didn't get yet, so they might arrive in the future, but they wanted me to pay everything up front. So I couldn't come up with the money, and everything that was in my company I lost. And then I decided at the end that I had around 10,000 euros or so left in my bank account. And when I went through the books and saw what I did and what made the company successful, I realized, because it was an IT company, we were buying a lot of things in US dollar, and I was selling it in Europe in euro. So I always had these conversion rate differences. And I realized that the company actually made more than 100,000 in profit just from currency conversions. And then I thought about it, and I realized, well, actually, I did that with some trading techniques that I knew like years ago already. But when you're busy, like having these 14, 16-hour days, like all day, every day, and over the weekends as well, you don't realize sometimes what you're actually doing. And then when you stop because your company is gone, now you have a lot of time and you don't even know what to do, because like everything you worked for years is now gone. And then you reflect on it and you see it, and then it's like, well, actually, I can trade that. I don't need the IT business in order to make money on these currencies. And then I just started to trade, and a year later, I was able to retire from that. And these strategies work up till today, and I developed them further and put some more things. You're constantly learning about what you're doing, what works, what doesn't work. So I got a lot more sophisticated since then, but the basic is still the same. So you buy at a low price and you sell it at a higher price, and that's how you make money in the stock market.
All right.
No matter the currencies, commodities. So that's the story in a short version.
Okay. My next few question is going to tie it up to your story. Thank you so much for sharing it. So the first one is, how can you convince somebody that money is not evil? Because for one thing is that I think it's become a really common mindset, or I think a lot of individuals such as Gary Vee or maybe Grant Cardone will tell you is to get rid of the mindset that money is evil, to limit your mindset and all of this. And also along with that, right, do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10, having the knowledge on how to earn the money is worth more than being given $1 million directly?
Yeah. So mindset is probably one of the most important things that you need in life, not only for money, but also for happiness, for success. And success can be different for everyone. Money usually is a byproduct of what you do. If you love what you do, that's like my measurement. I want to be loving what I do. So I want to get up, do whatever I love, and then the rest gets taken care of. And I got a lot of people that I showed how to trade that use that money from trading to do something they are passionate about. So they not necessarily love trading as much as I do, but for them it's a great means of following some rules, making some money, and then being able to do what they really love, because some important jobs or some important things, they are not getting rewarded as they should be, or sometimes it takes a lot of time. If you're a musician, for example, and you do great music, but no one knows you yet, it can take years until you get to a threshold where you actually are able to live from music, the same in arts or other things. So for me, trading always was a means of, okay, I get in enough money so I can do whatever I love, and I love traveling, I love teaching, I love helping other people, and that's where the mindset comes in. So basically, let's take you, for example. You are the person that you really are. If I give you, let's say, 100 euro or 1,000 euro or 10,000 euro, would you change as a person? Does that money that I give you really make you a bad person? So next time you get a paycheck from your employer and the money comes in, are you getting evil or not? So obviously, whether you deal with bad people or good people has nothing to do with emphasize character. If you are a bad person, or to say it differently, if you are an asshole and you get a lot of money, you now are a rich asshole.
Yeah.
And if you're a good person and you get a lot of money, then you're a good person with a lot of money, and you can do so much more than you could without that money. Unfortunately, some religions and some people are very keen on emphasizing, oh, money is the root of all evil. And that's far from it. The more money I have, or the more money a person has in general, the more you can do. Like, you can give away money for charity, which is something like once a month we trade a day for charity. Whatever we earn goes to a charity project. I fund several charities on my own, and it's far easier if you're financially secure, all your bills are paid, and then you have a lot of money left over. You can do a lot of things and help a lot of people which you otherwise can't. So you gotta get rid of that mindset where you think that money. Otherwise, if that would be true, every time you spend some money, you would get a better person, or your karma would go up. And every time you get a paycheck, your karma does go down. So whether you are a good person or a bad person is just about the choices that you make. And the more money you have, the more choices you can do. If you do a lot of good choices with a lot of money, you can do extremely well. And if you do a lot of bad choices, it doesn't really matter if you have money or not. It will just be simply bad choices.
All right. Okay, so my second part to that is that on a scale of like 1 to 10, maybe if you want to go about 10, you can do it. Do you feel that the knowledge on how you on money is much more important as compared to just winning a lottery, or maybe being given $1 million immediately?
Absolutely. So knowledge and mindset for me would be like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a 12, 13, 14, 15, because it's the essential part. If someone gives you $1 million and your mindset isn't where it should be, and you don't know how to deal with money, after a certain time, that $1 million would be gone. I always teach that to my students, where I tell them, okay, the first thing you want to reach and to become financially free is that your income is higher than your expenses. So every month you have more money available, which you then can invest to get even more money until the money from your income is bigger than all your expenses, and then you can do whatever you want. If you, let's say, someone gives you $1 million and you don't know what to do with it, and your mindset isn't there, and you don't have any other income, you just feel rich, and you start to take that money and waste it on things that don't even have a meaning. You buy a car or something, That's exciting, but only for a day, a week, or 2 weeks, and then it's like just your car. So the knowledge is absolutely essential. And if you don't have any money but the knowledge how to make it, you will be always very well off after a few years. If you have a lot of money but no knowledge, you will be very bad off after a few years because you will simply waste it on something or not. So actually it doesn't really depend on where you start. Like when I had to start again, like going from roughly 4.5 million, what was in the company, to 10,000, that's like a step where you feel really, really poor. But when you have the knowledge, like a year later, you're back at a level where you say, okay, I don't have to do anything anymore. I can work or make money from everywhere in the world. I can retire. I can go to different places, see exotic beaches and whatsoever. Just do what you love to do. But the key for that is knowledge. So whether you have money or not is absolutely unimportant, but whether you have the knowledge or not is pretty much everything.
Okay. Do you feel that having more money equals to more happiness? And for yourself personally, how much does it change yourself in both positive and in a negative way with having the money?
So the more money you have, like the amount of money that you have doesn't give you happiness. Money is just a means to achieve something. What gives you happiness is the things you can do with it. If you can go and spend time with some friends, or you go on a vacation and take them with you, or you can invite people over and do whatever you want. If you live in a sunny island or something, these are the things that make you happy, or the experiences. Like for Valentine's Day, I decided to just book really nice luxury holiday for my wife and me. So we just went over the Dead Sea, and that obviously only works if you have enough money to pay for it and don't worry about money. So the money itself won't make you happy. But on the other side, if you don't have any money, you're not happy either. So if you have to work out how to pay for things, that doesn't necessarily give you a good opportunity to be a happy person, and like being happy, healthy, and you will need some money. That's just the way where the world is at the moment, and which we are having to deal with. So I rather have a lot of money, and that increases my chance of being happy because I can do a lot of things when having no money. Although knowing that no matter how much money I have, the money itself won't make me happy, but all the nice things. I think someone put it like that, and he said, money doesn't make you happy, but I'd rather cry in my Ferrari than
Yeah, I would rather cry in a Ferrari too.
Yeah, it's pretty true. So yes, money doesn't make you happy, but not having money doesn't make you happy either. But the things money can buy, that's what makes you happy. And that's what I would want for everyone, to have enough money to enjoy life, do whatever you want, because we are really good at the things we are passionate about. If you really love what you do, you will be far better than if you go for work because you have to pay some bills. And that's what really makes you unhappy. If you have to do something you really don't want, just because you need these papers with these people on there to pay the bills. So that's what makes people unhappy. Money itself is just a tool, and it doesn't make you happy or unhappy. It's just about the things you can do with it.
All right. Okay, Juergen, this is my last question. Can you give 3 advice for respectively for one for expatriate, one is for a future trader, and another one is for an entrepreneur? For each of them, can you give one advice each based on your experience? It can also be a book that you read.
Okay, so for expats, I would say learn to embrace the difference. Everywhere you go, you will find good and bad things in every country. But once you realize it's different, and different doesn't mean it's good or bad. It's always, if you think about, if you're here in the middle, depending on whether you look from it from one side or the other side, it can be either good or bad. So expectations, if you expect something to be exactly like it is in Indonesia, for example, or exactly the way it is in Germany, and you go to another country, you will realize it's absolutely different, and then you will be disappointed because you have that expectation. But if you go there and look at it, and you don't have an expectation, you just see, okay, this is the way it is, and then you can pretty much switch sides and see, okay, is it positive or negative? And it can be very positive for you, even though it's different, and you can adapt to it. And that's what I would recommend for every expat. Have a look at things just as they are, and then you'll find a way to deal with it. People are different everywhere. Within your country, depending on where you go, people are very, very different, especially in Indonesia, for example, such a big country. Depending where on which island you are, differences are absolutely huge, and that's the same in Germany. Like even if you think Germany's all the same, depending on whether you're in the western part, the eastern part, the northern part, the southern part, the southwestern part, or the southeastern part, they will all be very, very different. They will have different things. So the more you are able to embrace these differences, the better you will be able to deal with it. For traders, my best advice is get a proper education, know what you're doing. Then what amazes me is there are so many people that are studying like 3-4 years to become a bookkeeper, and then they enter the stock market and they think, okay, I know what I do, and they just throw money in there, and it's like gambling roulette or something. That absolutely doesn't work. So if you know what you're doing, if you have a proven system and you stick to it, you will be very, very successful in trading. If you follow some certain rules, if you have a proper money management and all these kind of things. If you don't have that,
or if you study under Juergen,
chances are that you will lose pretty much everything in a very short amount of time. So the best advice for traders would be get educated, know what you're doing, and start off not with real money. Take a demo account and trade with paper money. And once you've proven that you can make money in an account where you don't have any risk, then you should start out with a small amount, put some money in there, then a lot of psychology comes in. And if you're still making money with a small amount of money, then you can ramp it up, put more money in, and then you can start to take off and make a lot of money. That's the way to go. If you go all in and you put everything on, I don't know, whatever, whether it's a stock or a commodity or Forex or something, chances are that sooner or later you will be wrong, or something in the market will happen and you will be wiped out. For entrepreneurs, learn about leadership and surround yourself with the best people that you can find. And sometimes it's hard when you start off because great people are very expensive, and what you lack as an entrepreneur usually is money. But find the best people that you can somehow afford, surround yourself with them, build a team, lead by example, and then your business will be very, very well off. I think that's the best advice I can give to entrepreneurs. Provide a great service, provide great value, and money will always follow. Once people know what you're offering and they see the difference about your service and other services, they will even pay a premium just to deal with you if you're able to provide value and to solve a problem that your customer has.
All right. Okay, sorry, I didn't mention it's the last question, but just to double confirm, are you the consultant for Wall Street for Michael Douglas? Sorry, one of the celebrity you work with is Michael Douglas, who one of his most famous is Wall Street, whereby he was playing Gordon Gekko. So did you happen to be the consultant for it or no?
Yeah, I met him when we had joint speaking engagement in Los Angeles, and he's an absolutely phenomenal guy. He's a very, very great actor. I love Gordon Gekko, so it's my favorite picture is actually Michael Douglas and me standing next to each other. He personally isn't too interested in the stock market, and he absolutely doesn't like the character of Gordon Gekko. But that tells you how great he is as an actor. If you are able to play someone that from a character perspective, you don't really like Gordon Gekko wasn't a nice guy, to be fair. So I completely understand him. But to play someone so convincingly, that shows you how great he is as an actor. If you can overcome all of these things and identify the persona and deliver such a great job and such a great acting, that's absolutely phenomenal.
Okay. Well, what a shot. I thought you could be the one doing the consultancy for the movie, but okay, never mind. All right. Okay, this is okay. So this is the end of episode 33 of Global Citizens. So for those of you who are interested in trying out a podcast, or you guys might want to try something out, like what I always did, I always have a title card for all of my guests, at least early this year. So if you guys want to try it, you guys can click on the description box. There's a link to Canva and StreamYard, which is the software I'm using for this. Juergen, do you have anything you want to tell the audience? Maybe an upcoming courses or any kind of upcoming program that you are coming up with?
Yeah, if you're from Europe, for example, there's a speaking tour coming up through Germany, Austria, the Netherlands, and later on in the year also Sweden and the UK. So I would be happy if you join me and we can talk, or I can help you out with whatever questions you have about the stock market or entrepreneur matters. And yeah, feel free to visit my website. There's a lot of free material. You get a market outlook every month where I tell my opinion about where markets or where certain markets might go and which are the things that I will trade. So you can follow these things and see whether I'm right or not. So in trading, the thing is we never will be right 100% of the time. But if you have a look at that market outlook and see later on how these markets develop, you will understand why me and my students are making a lot of money. So the website would be 24hprofits.com. There's also a free ebook available that tells you about the biggest mistakes you can make in investing. So the big trick is you don't want to lose money, you want to make money. So if you can avoid these things, that will be something like a quantum leap for you. And yeah, upcoming speaking tour, you can follow me on Facebook. You get a lot and tons of materials like daily trading outlooks and all these kind of things. So even if you don't know anything about it, you can learn it step by step, get familiar with it, and then you can decide whether trading is for you and you want to give it a try or not.
All right. So Juergen's website, all of his other social media links is already in the description box. Please feel free to reach out to him, but please let him know that you know him from me, because this is his personal privacy. Because I think anybody will freak out if you are just, hi, I suddenly did this from you and you don't even know who the seller is. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Juergen, for your time today. And thank you for those who's watching the episode today. So this is the end of Global Citizens, episode 33. So with that, have a good day. I need to take care of some stuff because it's flooding outside my house.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me. And
bye-bye.
bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.